Hi everyone. So, I either put a video before this about the fact that I lost a whole bunch of videos I made, but if I didn't, then please ignore this beginning part. Obviously, this is a review on this book, Beauty and the Werewolf by Mercedes Lackey, and this was an interesting book, but not so interesting that I really loved it. This is a retelling of Beauty and the Beast with right at the beginning some elements of Little Red Riding Hood, because she does have a red coat, and she does go see her granny, and there is a wolf involved, but it doesn't follow the exact path as Little Red Riding Hood. Or maybe it does, but it just maybe it does. But anyway, this was a pretty interesting book, and it's got some interesting stuff of interesting how she wrote it. But this is kind of supposed to be an adult romance novel because of the way the library does this. This means it is adult, and the way it's done, it looks like it's being a romance novel, but it's not exactly the romance novel that I usually read. Because, I got to this end part here, and that's when the romance was actually happening, and when they were, making out, and, I guess you could say they got to second base. I'd still say it's a good book, and it's a relatively good read. And it's just an interesting way how she did a retelling of kind of both fairy tales, technically. But I won't be buying this myself because it's not as good as I really like. Not as good as other fairy tales I've read. Keep me. Ugh. I would recommend anyone who wants to read this, because it was a really interesting retelling of it. And if you do like fairy tales, retelling of fairy tales, and if Beauty and the Beast, if you like the fairy tale Beauty and the Beast, I do recommend you read this, because it's an interesting retelling of it. And there's other ones here too, I know there's one about the Sleeping Beauty, the Snow Queen. I think another one is about Rapunzel. I think they have one that's about Rumpelstiltskin. So, yeah. And if you also like Little Red Riding Hood, it's got that element right at the beginning. Just it's right at the beginning where that part happens. Yeah, that's kind of my review about it. And yeah, I don't have much of a review because I didn't particularly like it. And I'm guessing if I really didn't like it, I would have probably more to say. I didn't like this, I didn't like this, there, this, and this, and this, and I wouldn't recommend people reading it. But I did kind of like it. It was good. Good enough for me to actually finish the book. But obviously not good enough for me to actually buy it. And I was disappointed because I thought this was an actual good adult romance novel, but it wasn't, so that's kind of the disappointing factor for me. Why I'm not enthralled about it. Because I thought it would be a good adult romance novel about Beauty and the Beast, but it's not. So that's what I'm gonna end about it. I did have another library book that I was going to read, but I didn't really like it, so I'm not reading it. I do have other stuff on hold at the library. One of them is another retelling fairy tale. I don't know if it's the 12 Dancing Princesses or Beauty and the Beast. It's one of them, obviously. And then I have a bunch of retelling fairy tales. Like they're teen books. So until I go to the library, which is on Monday, I will be reading Dimity and the Deep Blue Sea by Nancy Atherton. And this is one of my books. And like I love this series, but because I'm almost finished it. So like this is the end, like this is the back flap. And I love this woman so much. I have all of her books, and like this is kind of, I think, book 11 or something like that, somewhere. She has almost like 20 books out, so I'm like, this is like book 12 or 13, so I'm at least over the halfway mark. And I will be reading this until I get any library books. Because library books, you only get them for 3 weeks, and you can renew them, but I kind of like, I want to get them read as fast as I can and done first, because I can read these whenever I want. Because they're mine. So, you will either get a book review on this, or you will get one on the next library book I get. So yeah, I'm gonna start reading this because I love this book so much.